I made a mistake. 3 months ago, I made a video where I compared 4 Titanic games on Roblox to see which of these is the best Titanic game on the platform. But in the video, I made a mistake by calling Shipwrecked a Titanic game. I got so many comments calling out that Shipwrecked is not a Titanic game that even a tester of the game came out and stated that the game was never meant to be a Titanic game. It was at this moment I realized that I had to do something about this. So I decided to release a part 2 of the Titanic video, which is this. This time, all these games you see here are about Titanic and not the fictional version of it. Those games you see here are suggested by you from either the first part or the community post about which Titanic game you like the most. And yes, I will turn this into a series where I will compare 4 Roblox games against each other. Each video has a different topic, like what is the best restaurant game or what is the best fishing game. So if you want your comment to make an appearance in an upcoming Roblox comparison video, comment down below. Since Titanic SOS won the first part, that game will advance to round 2. I will also include more stuff that I missed or forgot when I talked about the game. But without further ado, let's begin this video. As you can see here, I have replaced the ship design category with a new category called interactions. The reason why I removed the ship design category is because it will be pretty difficult to compare those games when almost all of them have the same design. And the reason why I instead included the category interactions is that I wanted to see how much you can interact with the ship in each game. So let's start with our first category, and that is... When we think of a Titanic game, many of us probably want to interact with the ship. That's why in this category, I'll evaluate how much of the ship is interactive. This can range from controlling its system to smaller details, like sitting on a chair. Let's start with Titanic SOS. In this game, there's a lot of things you can interact with on the ship. You can control the engine order telegraph, the lifts, and the watertight doors. You can even launch lifeboats, use the Marconi wireless telegraph to send SOS, and also control the lifeboats. But controlling the lifeboats requires a game pass, which costs 249 Robux. When the ship spots the iceberg, you can also interact with the telephone on the bridge. Answering it will play a sound saying, "Is there anyone there? Iceberg, going ahead!" If you want to send a letter or buy an item, you can use the purser office to do these things, including purchasing a ticket to the Turkish bath and also a camera. These are some of the things you can interact with on the ship in Titanic SOS. So 4 points goes to the game. Next up, we have Titanic The Last Adventure. In this game, there's not much we can interact with. The only things we can do are open doors and sit. So yeah, this game gets 3 points. Next up, we have The Fate of the Titanic and Titanic The Final Hours. In these games, we can only interact with one thing on the ship. For The Fate of the Titanic, we can sit, and for Titanic The Final Hours, we can control lifeboats. So those games only get 1 point each. Last time, Titanic SOS was the winner of this category due to its many detailed interiors. However, will Titanic SOS still claim this victory? Well, let's find out. First off, we have Titanic SOS. For the most of it, I will include the clips from part 1 and also include some materials I missed, which were spotted thanks to the viewers. In the game, we can find the Grand Staircase, Scotland Road, the bridge, a gymnasium, the lounge, the Marconi room, the pool, and the Turkish bath. According to Ksisboski, it's possible to go down to the Orlop deck and the G deck where the mail room and the squash court are located. According to Reuse Brand 8311 and Andy Happy Guy, we will soon be able to use the cabins. The only kind of cabins we can visit are the crew cabins. However, I'm going to give this game 3 points, because there's another game that has way more interiors than this game. Next up, we have Titanic The Last Adventure. In this game, you can visit some of its interiors, like the wheelhouse, the Marconi room, the boiler room, a crew cabin, Scotland Road, the Grand Staircase, and the second class staircase. But for the rest, like the first class dining room, the main room, and the squash court are not available to enter in this game. So 2 points goes to Titanic The Last Adventure. Coming right up, we have the fate of the Titanic. There's not much we can explore when we come to its interiors. There are only 4 locations available to explore, which are the first class staircase, the Scotland Road, the second class staircase, and the bridge. We can't even visit the wheelhouse, unfortunately. So sorry, the fate of the Titanic, but you only get 1 point. Last but not least, it's Titanic The Final Hours. Never have I seen a Titanic game on Roblox with so many interiors. We got the first class grand staircase, the aft grand staircase, the second class staircase, the first class lounge, the smoking room, the mail room, the boiler room, the third class dining room, the second class space, and a barbershop? Wait, the Titanic had a barbershop? Oh, wow, they did have a barbershop. Anyway, the game even has cabins. You can explore the third, the second, and the first class cabins. I spent an hour filming every possible location in this game, and I couldn't stop finding more and more. But it doesn't stop there. After the disaster, when the Carpathia arrives at the scene, we can look around Carpathia's interiors, including a cabin and a staircase. This means that Titanic The Last Hours has beaten Titanic SOS in this category and gathers 4 points. In this category, I will show you what features each of these games have. It can be from working lifts and a point system, to an RP system and controlling the watertight doors. Starting off with the fate of the Titanic. The game starts off in Southampton and lets you explore the ship for around 2 minutes before it departs. There's barely any feature we can use, since there are no lifeboats on the deck to launch, and the only lifeboats we can stand on are the collapsible lifeboats that are located at the first funnel. The only feature except for the Southampton part we can use is the crew pass that costs 100 Robux. That pass gives you access to the bridge, a lantern, and a gun. Since the game only has 2 features, I will give the fate of the Titanic 1 point. In Titanic The Last Adventure, we can choose a role that can turn you into a captain, a crew member, a third class, second class, or a first class passenger. If you want to become a captain, a game pass will cost you 699 Robux. When joining the game, it starts on April 14 in the middle of the North Atlantic. However, you don't have much time exploring the ship, because after a few minutes, the sky turns from day to night pretty quickly. The game also features door animation and chairs that you can sit on. That's 3 features that we can interact with, so 2 points goes to Titanic The Last Adventure. Then we have Titanic SOS. This game, as I mentioned in my previous Titanic video, has a lot of features that we can interact with. When joining the game, we will find ourselves in Southampton on April 10, which is the latest update to the game. When departing from the dock, we can watch a cinematic shot of when it departs and also when it hits the bottom of the North Atlantic Sea. The game has its own soundtrack, a working Morse code system that allows you to communicate with other ships, an RPS system with a name and a role, a letter system that allows you to send letters to a player, musician mode that allows you to join the band, lifts that can take you from deck A to deck E, working watertight doors, money system that allows you to earn money and then use them to buy items at the item shop. With the money, you can also buy a ticket to the Turkish bath. That's 10 features that we can interact with. So yes, Titanic SOS gets 4 points. And then we have Titanic The Final Hours. The game starts on April 13 and lets you explore the ship for 52 minutes until the iceberg sequence begins. The game features a huge amount of interiors, as I mentioned in the interiors part. We also get to read the story of what happened to the Titanic from April 13 to the end of the game. We get to learn about some cool facts, like how many miles Titanic has sailed from Southampton. Once it's sinking, lifeboats are getting filled automatically, and once the lifeboats have been lowered to the sea, it either controls automatically or can be controlled manually. Once the ship has sunk, we can be saved by the Carpathia. Also, if you wait until the clock has reached 8 AM in-game time, we can also spot the Californian arriving at the scene. So that's around 4 features, which gives Titanic The Final Hours 3 points. In part 1, Titanic SOS won this category because of how realistic the game is. But will the game keep the victory in part 2? That's what we are about to find out. Starting off with Titanic The Last Adventure. This game uses the James Cameron theory from 2012, which is based almost entirely off a simulation. During its sinking phase, we can hear sounds of metal tapping and creaking and see the lights flickering. We also get to see the collapse of the funnels and the grand staircase. If a funnel hits you, you are dead. Once the ship breaks into 2 pieces, the stern falls to the sea but also lays on its port side. Once the ship is gone, the game will restart 3 minutes later. I will say that this game is pretty realistic. We got the flickering lights and the cracking between the 3rd and the 4th funnels is very well made. However, the game is nowhere as realistic as the 2 other games that will soon show up here. But before that, I will also talk about the fate of the Titanic. So 2 points goes to Titanic The Last Adventure. Next up, we have the fate of the Titanic. Even though the game isn't as realistic as Titanic The Last Adventure, we still got a pretty good sinking ship. We can see when the grand staircase floods, the collapse of the funnels, and when the ship splits. We can then see sparks coming out from the ship when it's in 2 pieces. Once the ship has gone down, we can actually see a lot of people on the water, giving a realism of how it could have looked like after the sinking. Then, a minute later, the game kicks you, and you have to join another server to play the game again. Even though the fate of Titanic isn't as realistic as Titanic The Last Adventure, it's still a pretty good Titanic game, so 1 point goes to the fate of the Titanic. In Titanic The Final Hours, the game uses on a sea of glass theory. Once the Titanic has hit the iceberg, the watertight doors automatically close when the boiler room is getting filled with ice-cold water. Then we get to see the usual, the collapse of the funnels and the flooding in the grand staircase. However, what makes this different compared to the previous 2 Titanic games I mentioned is that the ship breaks between the 2nd and the 3rd funnels. Once the stern is down, we can also spot the forward tower at the 3rd funnel collapsing into the water. Then the stern goes up and goes down into the sea. What makes this game realistic is that during the sinking, we can spot the lights turning red due to voltage loss and hear the sound of metal creaking and stressing. So for these reasons, I will give Titanic the final hours 3 points. Then finally, we have Titanic SOS. This game uses the same theory as Titanic the Final Hours did. However, there are more things that are realistic here than in Titanic the Final Hours. So, in Titanic SOS, when the ship sinks, we can experience the light slowly flickering and sound of metal stress and creaking. We get to see floating furniture and light bulbs exploding when a room is flooded with water. Two great details that cannot be spotted in the previous game I have mentioned. If you touch the water, you can see that it splashes. Then the band starts playing and can be spotted at different parts of the ship. Once it's time for the ship to split, we can see that the ship first bends and then splits into two pieces. And as you can see here, the split also causes the aft staircase to collapse. Once that has happened, the stern lifts up and then spins around as it sinks. As you can see here, there are a lot of details that really make Titanic SOS pretty realistic. From lights flickering and exploding, to the ship bending and the split. No need to explain further why this game deserves 4 points. 2 weeks ago, I asked you which Titanic game on Roblox is your favorite one. With 617 votes, we have a result. In 4th place, we have Titanic the Final Hours with around 31 votes. That's 5% of the total votes. In the 2nd place, we have The Fate of the Titanic and Titanic The Last Adventure, sharing around 43 votes. That's 7% of the total votes. And in 1st place, we got Titanic SOS with 505 votes. That's 82% of all votes. So 1 point goes to Titanic the Final Hours, 2 points to The Fate of the Titanic and Titanic The Last Adventure, and 4 points to Titanic SOS, making this game the winner of this category. For the last category, I will give my own thoughts about these games and then give my points to them, starting from the bottom. The Fate of the Titanic is a pretty nice Titanic game. The design reminds me of the good old classic Roblox. However, the ship barely has any interior, and instead of lifeboats, there is a sign saying it's coming soon. But if we forget these things, it's still a pretty good Titanic game. So 1 point goes to The Fate of the Titanic. Next up, we have Titanic The Last Adventure. This game is a nice Titanic game. Even though there are not many features that can be interacted with, it's still a nice game to explore and experience when it's sinking. There is not much I have to say about this game other than giving this game 2 points. And next up, we have Titanic The Final Hours. This is my favorite Titanic game when it's about exploring it. You can visit a lot of locations around the ship. Some of them are unknown to me, like a barbershop and an a la carte restaurant. And I'm supposed to be a Titanic nerd. But even though I love the interior of this game, the game lacks features that will make this game the best Titanic game on Roblox. Plus, after the collision with the iceberg, it got very laggy. But I understand why when there are so many interiors and objects. So you need a very good PC to have a smooth gameplay without any laggy stuff. But yeah, 3 points goes to Titanic The Final Hours. And finally, we have Titanic SOS, a game I still think is the best one compared to the other Titanic games. It has a fully functional RP system, which I'm very interested in, working lifeboats that not only can be launched, but also be controlled. You can control the telegraphs, buy a ticket to the Turkish bath, and close the watertight doors. Even though the game doesn't have as much interior as Titanic The Final Hours, Titanic SOS has an RP system, new cinematic shots, and the latest update, Southampton, features that cannot be spotted in Titanic The Final Hours. Titanic SOS is still my favorite Titanic game out of these 4 games. So, 4 points goes to Titanic SOS. After an exciting round 2 of comparing Titanic games, we finally have a winner. We're gonna start from last place and then we go up to the first place. In 4th place with around 7 points, it's The Fate of the Titanic, a game with a classic look that takes almost 20 minutes to complete. Sadly, as a Titanic nerd, this game lacks interior and features. There aren't even lifeboats to launch as a crew member, but I understand that soon the game will have lifeboats to launch. The question is, when will that update be out? But hey, if you're into classic games, this game is perfect for you. Next up, on 3rd place with 13 points, we have Titanic The Last Adventure. This is a pretty nice Titanic game. We got the boiler room, automatic lifeboats that you can launch, and also a nice sinking sequence. But yeah, there's not much to talk about this game other than that this ship has endless corridors. If you're looking for a nice quick Titanic game to play, Titanic The Last Adventure is perfect for you. This one gets a bronze medal. On 2nd place with 15 points, we have Titanic The Final Hours. The best Titanic game in my opinion when it comes to exploring the ship. The ship has a lot of interiors that can take so much time to explore. From the bridge and the first class cabins to the mail room and the boiler room. Even though this game has a lot of interiors, the game lacks some features that can make the game even better, like a fully functional RP system and an interactive bridge. One of the best parts of this game is when the Titanic has sunk, wait a few minutes and you can get rescued by a Carpathia. If you are a Titanic nerd who just loves Titanic's interior, then check out Titanic The Final Hours. This one gets the silver medal. Last but not least, Titanic SOS. This game is still the ultimate Titanic experience. It has everything a Titanic fan loves. The design, the interior with floating furniture, the Turkish bath, the Marconi room with the working Morse code, and lifts that can take you from the A deck to the E deck. If you are a person who loves to roleplay and just wants to experience a realistic looking Titanic game, Titanic SOS is the perfect one for you. If we compare all the Titanic games in this and part 1, we can see that in 6th place we got The Fate of the Titanic. 5th place, it's Titanic Legacy. 4th place, it's Titanic The Last Adventure. 3rd place, it's Titanic The Final Hours. 2nd place, it's Roblox Titanic, and on the 1st place, it's Titanic SOS. So, which of these games is your favorite Titanic game? Do you agree with this list or not? Comment down below. If you have a suggestion of which games I should face against each other next time, send your idea in the comments down below. But hey, if you are new here, subscribe to join Team Trains. And if you want to chat with me and hang out with many other of my fans, join my Discord server in the description below. My Roblox group is also located there. And once again, thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Stay tuned and be awesome.